If you're considering relocating to Salem, Oregon, you're probably feeling stressed out and wondering if you're making the right decision. You might be asking yourself if Salem is like every other capital city. Is it just the armpit of Oregon? These are the same questions that I asked myself when I relocated to Salem 5 years ago. Just like you, I was feeling stressed and confused and scared about the whole idea of moving to a new place that was unknown to me. But today, I'm going to be upfront and honest with you and tell you 5 reasons why Salem might not be the place for you. My goal is to provide you with all of the information you need to make a well-informed decision about Salem. My name is Clarity Odd, and I'm a real estate agent here in Salem. I make videos for you, my future clients who are relocating to Salem. If you're buying a home here and you want to work with us, go down to the description of this video where you're going to find all of our contact information. Send us an email, a text, get on my calendar and book a one-on-one consultation, but definitely reach out because we'd be so thrilled to work with you. Disclaimer! I don't really like the idea of giving you all the reasons why you might hate Salem without actually balancing this review out and talking about the things that I love about Salem. So for that reason, I've also created this video right here about the top 5 reasons why I love Salem. That video is gonna pop up on the end of the screen automatically once you finish this video. So watch that next so you can get a balanced review of the good and the bad. Reason number 1 that you are absolutely going to hate Salem is that it's very car dependent. Now, I need to contextualize this a bit because I am coming from Portland, which is where I relocated from, and that city is basically powered on bicycles and the TriMet bus system. So when I compare Salem to Portland, Salem does feel incredibly car dependent. And the public transportation infrastructure does not feel very robust in Salem. Having said that, Salem does have its own public bus network called the Chariot system, and it does have bus stops throughout Kaiser and Salem, and all of those bus stops converge into the bus station in downtown Salem. So you might be asking, well, if there's a public bus system, why the heck is it a car-dependent city? Well, from my perspective, the bus system is not very hefty, so it doesn't go to all the nooks and crannies in Salem. So if you are going to be using the public bus system here, you're gonna need to prepare yourself to walk a while to get to your nearest bus stop. And now that information might lead you to think, well, if the bus system isn't good, what about riding your bicycle? And that is a root-a-toot-toot good questions, friends. The city of Salem has a lot of bike lanes throughout the entire city, and while you can technically ride your bike wherever you wanted in the city, I have seen more bicycle and car accidents here in Salem than I have anywhere else. And I think this is because cars in Salem are not accustomed to bicycles riding alongside them. And again, I'm going to talk about Portland because that is a very quick and easy example to compare things. In Portland, when you are driving around, you can almost guarantee that there is going to be a biker around you at some point in your commute, no matter where you're going. In Salem, you don't really learn how to drive along bicycles when you're in your car. So you just don't have that same framework when you're driving around in Salem. You're not thinking about the bicycle riders around you. And for that reason, I think there's a lot more accidents here in Salem with a car and a bike than I've seen anywhere else. Salem's also pretty spread out, and even though the city is still under 200,000 residents, the city itself is pretty expansive, and I personally feel like that takes away a lot of the ability to walk places. So that just kind of leaves the ability to commute by car. I personally don't really mind the fact that Salem is car dependent, but back when I lived in Portland, I loved commuting on the bus, on TriMet, on the streetcar. I didn't ride my bike because screw that. I don't like riding my bicycle. I don't necessarily mind the fact that Salem is car dependent, but I do wish that there was more options available that were easy and safe to utilize beyond just the one and only option of using a car to get around. If you're enjoying this video so far, give me a thumbs up, feed the algorithm beast, and go down to the comments and tell me exactly where you're watching this video from. And if you want to be notified every time I put out a new video each week, definitely subscribe to my channel, which will then ping you when I put out a new video. The next reason why you might actually hate Salem is because you are going to be surrounded by farms, and you might be like, oh my gosh, farms. That sounds really cute and quintessential. It does, doesn't it? Except for the fact that farms also bring a lot of pollen and dust, and if you have allergies, you just might have really bad allergies here. Salem is like this little teeny tiny island, and it is surrounded by agricultural production of all kinds. So there's a lot of different kinds of pollen in the air, but on top of that, Salem is located in Marion County, which is right next to Lynn County. And Lynn County is literally the grass seed capital of the world. So if you have allergies, prepare yourself. And what I do now is just put Zyrtec on my Amazon subscription. I just take it all year. I don't mind the fact that I'm feeding big pharma to help my allergies. I'm all for it. Anyways, if you have allergies, you should prepare yourself because we've got a lot of pollen and dust in the air, and likely if you're relocating from somewhere else, it's gonna be new pollen for you. Next reason why you might hate Salem is because of flood zones. Now, we don't have a lot of flood zones, and the ones that are coming to mind, they're super out of the way and kind of cut through downtown. So it's not something that you really need to worry about, but it is something that you should be mindful of because we are in an area that gets a lot of rain every year, and the potential to flood our little creeks, it is there. Now again, flooding is only in a very specific part of Salem, and don't worry, there's a remedy for this. You just got to go online and look up flood maps, and you'll see that there are certain areas in Salem you're going to want to avoid, mostly downtown. Don't buy a house in those flood zones, or I guess do buy a house, but just know that you will have to pay flood insurance for a very specific section of houses in Salem. If you have a fear of water, I don't know if that's can you have a fear of water? I don't know, but if you have a fear of water, I would advise don't purchase a home in a flood zone here. The next reason why you might not like Salem is the fact that most of Salem's social services are located in downtown, and unfortunately that means that we have homeless camps in the downtown area. They are periodically torn down and removed by city officials, but they inevitably do pop up again, and so if you're not used to seeing homeless camps or seeing homeless people downtown, this might be a reason to dislike Salem. All of Oregon has a homeless crisis, and all of the major cities have a homeless crisis. If you are not accustomed to seeing homeless, this is going to be a shock to you. This is a very sensitive topic. I simply want to give you a heads up that the reality of homeless is very present in almost all of Oregon. The next reason you just might hate Salem is the fact that depending on where you're coming from, it could be a very high cost of living place. In relation to Portland, Salem is much cheaper, especially when we look at the real estate in Portland compared to the real estate in Salem. But the fact of the matter is that Oregon is a high cost of living state. So if you're coming from a low cost of living state, you might have sticker shock when you try to purchase a house here. If you're one of my friends on the internet who's coming from California, you are gonna come to Salem and be like, oh my God, it's Mardi Gras, baby. Let's party and buy ourselves a big ass house. Because you're gonna find that the prices of real estate here are much cheaper than California. If you enjoyed this video, you are absolutely root-a-toot-tooty gonna wanna watch this video next. Bye friends!